Amen.
ברוך אתה ה' מלך העולם שעשני בן חורין.
Amen.
ברוך אתה ה' מלך העולם שעשני ישראל.
Amen.
אתה ה' אלוהים מלך העולם פוקח עברים.
Amen.
ברוך אתה ה' מלך העולם מלביש ערומים.
Amen.
ברוך אתה ה' מלך העולם מתיר אסורים.
Amen.
ברוך אתה ה' אלוהים מלך העולם זוקף כפופים.
Amen.
ברוך אתה ה' מלך העולם רוק הארץ על המים.
Amen.
ברוך אתה ה' אלוהים מלך העולם שעשה לי כל צרכי.
Amen.
אתה ה' אלוהים מלך העולם אשר לכי מצרי גבר.
Amen.
ברוך אתה ה' מלך העולם עוזר ישראל בגבורה.
Amen.
ברוך אתה ה' מלך העולם עוטר ישראל בתפארה.
Amen.
ברוך אתה ה' אלוהים מלך העולם הנותן ליעף כוח.
Amen. You may be seated. We continue at the bottom of page 152.
שמע ישראל אדוני אלוהינו אדוני אחד. ברוך שם כבוד מלכותו לעולם ועד. קדש את שמך, מקדיש את שמך וקדש את שמך בעולמך, ובישועתך תריב ותגביה קרננו, ברוך אתה אדוני, וקדש את שמך ברבים.
Page 158.
רבי ישמעאל אומר ב13 מידות התורה נדרשת מקל וחומר ומגזרה שווה. וכן שני כתובים המכחישים זה את זה, אשר יבוא הכתוב השלישי ויכנה ביניהם. יהי רצון בלפניך אדוני אלוהינו ואלוהי אבותינו, שיבנה בית המקדש במהרה בימינו ותן חלקנו בתורתך, ושם לבדך בעירה, כי מעולם וכשנים קדמוניות.
Mourners, please rise for the Kaddish de Rabbanan, page 160.
יתקדל ויתקדש שמי רבה,
Amen.
ועלמא דברה חירותי וימליך מלכותי, בחייכון וביומכון ובחיי דכל בית ישראל, בעגלה ובזמן קריב, ואמרו אמן.
Amen. Heshmei Rabba Mevarach La'olam La'almei Almaya.
ישמע רבה מברך לעולם ולעלמי עלמיה, יתברך וישתבח ויתפאר ויתרומם ויתנשא, ויתהדר ויתעלה ויתהלל שמי דקודשה בריחו,
Berichu.
אלא מכל ברכתה ושירתה, תושבחתה ונחמתה, דמינן בעולמה, ואמרו אמן. על
Amen.
ישראל ועל רבנן ועל תלמידיון, ועל כל תלמידיון, על כל מאן דעסקין באורייתא, די ואתרא, די ודי, בכל אתר ואתר, יהא להון ולכון שלמה רבה, חינה וחיסתא ורחמים, וחאין עריכין, ומזוני רוויחי, ופולקנה מן קדם אבהון דבשמיא וירא, ואמרו אמן.
Amen.
יהי שלמה רבה מן שמיא וחיים טובים עלינו ועל כל ישראל, ואמרו אמן.
Amen.
ושלום במרומיו וברחמיו יעשה שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל, ואמרו אמן.
Amen. Page 174.
היום יום שבת קודש, שבו היו הלווים בבית המקדש, מזמור השיר ליום השבת. צעדתי כתמר יפרח כארז בלבנון יזכה, שתולים בבית אדוני בחצרות אלוהינו יפריחו, עוד ינובון בשיבה דשנים ורעננים יהיו, להגיד כי השער אדוני, צורי ולא הבלעת בו.
Page 184.
מזמור שיר חנוכת הבית לדוד, אלוהיך אדוני כי דליתני ולא שמחת אוהבי לי. הפכת מספדי למחולי, פיתחת שקי ותעזרני שמחה, למען יזמרך כבוד ולא ידום אדוני אלוהי, לעולם אודקה.
Mourners, please remain standing for the Kaddish Yatom Mourners Kaddish, page 186.
יתקדל ויתקדש שמי רבה,
Amen.
ועלמא דברה חירותי, וימליך מלכותי, בחייכון וביומכון, ובחיי דכל בית ישראל, בעגלה ובזמן קריב, ואמרו אמן.
Amen. Heshmei Rabba Mevarach La'olam La'almei Almaya.
יתברך וישתבח ויתפאר ויתרומם ויתנשא, ויתהדר ויתעלה ויתהלל, שמי לקודשה בריחו,
Berichu.
אלא מן כל ברכתה ושירתה, תושבחתה ונחמתה, תאמירן בעלמא, ואמרו אמן.
Amen.
יהי שלמה רבה מן שמיא וחיים עלינו ועל כל ישראל, ואמרו אמן.
Amen.
יעשה שלום במרומיו, והוא יעשה שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל, ואמרו אמן.
Amen. We continue with the Shacharit service, page 234. You may be seated.
שוכן עד מרום וקדוש שמו, בפי ישרים תתהלל, ודברי צדיקים תתברך, ובלשון חסידים תתרומם, ובקרב קדושים תתקדש, ובמקהלות רבבות עמך בית ישראל. על כל דברי שירות ותשבחות, דוד בן ישי עבדך משיחך.
Please rise.
ישתבח שמך לעד מלכנו. ברכות והודאות מעתה ועד עולם, ברוך אתה אדוני, אל מלך גדול בתשבחות, אל ההודאות אדון הנפלאות, הבוחר בשירי זמרו, מלך אלכי העולמים. יתגדל ויתקדש שמי רבה,
Amen.
ויברח חירותי וימליך מלכותי, בחייכון ובימיכון וחיי דכל בית ישראל, בגלה בזמן קריב אמרו אמן.
Amen. יש מרבה מברך לעולם ולעלמי עלמיה.
שמי רבה מבורך לעולם ולעולמי עלמיה, יתברך וישתבח ויתפאר ויתרומם ויתנשא, ויתהדר ויתעלה ויתהלל, שמי דקודשה בריחו. לעילה מן כל ברכתה ושירתה, תושבחתה ונחמתה, דמירן בעלמה ואמרו אמן. ברכו את אדוני המבורך.
ברוך אדוני מבורך לעולם ועד.
ברוך אדוני המבורך לעולם ועד.
You may be seated.
ברוך אתה אדוני, אלוהינו מלך העולם, יוצר אור ובורא חושך, עושה שלום ובורא את הכל. הכל יודוך והכל ישבחוך.
We continue on page 242.
אפס בלתך גואלנו לימות המשיח, ואין דומה לך מושיענו לתחיית המתים. אל אדון כל המעשים ברוך ומבורך בפי כל נשמה, גדלו וטובו מלא עולם דעת ותבונה, סובב עמתו המתגאה על חיות הקודש ונדר בכבוד, על המרכבה זכות ומישור לפני חיסו, חסד ורחמים לפני כבודו. טובים מאורות שברא אלוהינו, צרם בדעת בבינה ובהשכל, כוח וגבורה נתן בהם להיות מושלים בקרב תבל, מלאים זיו ומפיקים נוגה נעזיבם בכל העולם, שמחים בצאתם, ששים בבואם, עושים באימה רצון קונם, פאר וכבוד נותנים לשמו צלה ורינה, לזכר מלכותו קרא בשמש ויזרח אור, ראה והתקין צורת הלבנה, שבח נותנים לו כל צבא מרום, תפארת וגדולה, שרפים ואופנים, שרפים ואופנים וחיות הקודש.
We continue on page 246, then 250.
לאל אשר שבת מכל המעשים. תתברך מושיענו על שבח מעשה ידיך, ועל מאורי אור יסית, יפארך הסלע. תתברך צורנו מלכנו וגואלנו, בורא קדושים. וכולם פותחים את פיהם בקדושה ובתורה, בשירה וזמרה, ומברכים ומשבחים, ומפארים ומעריצים, ומקדישים וממליכים את שם. וכולם מקבלים עליהם עול מלכות שמיים זה מזה, ונותנים רשות לזה להקדיש ליוצרם בנחת רוח, בשפה ורוח נעימה קדושה, כולם כאחד עונים ואומרים ביראה, קדוש 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 אדוני צבאות, מלוך כל הארץ כבודו. מאופנים וחיות הקודש, ברעש גדול מתנסים לעומת שרפים, לעומתם משבחים ואומרים, ברוך כבוד אדוני ממקומו.
We continue on page 252.
ליל ברוך נמות איתנו. אור חדש על ציון תאיר, ונזכה כולנו מהרה לאורו. ברוך אתה אדוני יוצר המאורות, אהבה רבה אהבתנו.
Page 254. והביאנו לשלום מארבע כנפות הארץ, ותוליכנו קוממיות לארצנו. כי אל פועל ישועות אתה, ובנו בחרת מכל עם ולשון, וקרבתנו לשמך הגדול סלע באמת, להודות לך וליחדך באהבה. ברוך אתה אדוני הבוחר בעמו ישראל באהבה.
Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad. V'haaretz Adonai Elohecha b'chol lebavcha v'b'chol nafshecha v'b'chol me'odecha v'hayir hadvarim ha'ele asher anochem esecha hayam amelech v'shimatam v'melech v'shivatavam v'shivtecha u'v'techa v'techa v'direch v'shuchtecha u'v'chamecha v'shatam le'ot all yadecha v'yitata fa'abin in tam Amizah v'techa u'visharecha
Adonai Elohechem Emet.
Page 264.
דור ודור הוא קיים ושמו קיים וכיסו נכון ומלכותו ואמונתו לעד קיימת. מלכנו מלך אבותינו, גואלנו גואל אבותינו, יוצרנו צור ישועתנו, כבודנו מצילנו, מעולם שמך, אין אלוהים זולתך. עזרת אבותינו אתה הוא מעולם.
Page 266 and 268.
תהילות לאל עליון, ברוך ומבורך, משה ובני ישראל, לחנו שירה, בשמחה רבה, ואמרו כולם. מי כמוך באלים אדוני, מי כמוך נדר בקודש, נורא תהילות עושה פלא. שירה חדשה שיבחו גאולים, בשמך על שפת הים, יחד כולם הודו והמליכו ואמרו, אדוני ימלוך לעולם ועד.
Please rise.
צור ישראל, קומה בעזרת ישראל, ופתחי נאומך, יהודה וישראל. גואלנו אדוני צבאות שמו, קדוש ישראל, ברוך אתה אדוני.
We begin the Amidah together on page 270, then concluded silently after the Kiddushah.
Goal Israel, Baruch atah Adonai,
Baruch Shema.
Avotenu, Elohei Avraham, Elohei Yitzchak, Elohei Yaakov, האל הגדול, הגיבור והנורא, אל עליון גומל חסדים טובים וקונה הכל, וזוכר חסדי אבות, ומביא גואל לבני בניהם, למען שמו באהבה, מלך עוזר ומושיע ומגן. ברוך אתה אדוני,
Baruch Shema.
בן אברהם.
Amen.
אתה גיבור לעולם אדוני, מחיי מתים אתה רב להושיע, מכלכל חיים בחסד, מחיי מתים ברחמים רבים, סומך נופלים ורופא חולים, ומתיר אסורים, ומקיים אמונתו לשני עפר. מי כמוך בעל גבורות, ומי דומה לך, מלך ממית ומחיה, ומצמיח ישועה, ונאמן אתה לחיות מתים. ברוך אתה אדוני, מחיי המתים.
נקדש את שמך בעולם אל זה ואמר.
נקדש את שמך בעולם, כשם שמקדישים אותו בשמי מרום, ככתוב על יד נביאך וקרא זה אל זה ואמר, קדוש קדוש קדוש, אדוני צבאות, מלוא כל הארץ כבודו. אז בקול רעש גדול, אדיר וחזק משמיעים קול, מנסים ומצרפים, ומתם ברוך יאמרו, ברוך כבוד אדוני ממקומו. ממקומך מלכנו תופיע, ותמלוך עלינו כי מחכים אנחנו לך. מתי תמלוך בציון, בקרוב בימינו לעולם ועד תשכון. תתגדל ותתקדש בתוך ירושלים עירך, לדור ודור ולנצח נצחים. ועינינו תראנה מלכותך, כדבר האמור בשירי עוזך, על ידי דוד משיח צדקך. ימלוך אדוני לעולם, אלוהיך ציון, לדור ודור, לדור ודור. הללויה. לדור ודור, לדור ודור, לדור ודור נגיד גאות לך. לדור ודור, לדור ודור, לדור ודור נגיד גאות לך. ולנצח נצחים קדושתך נקדיש, קדושתך נקדיש. ושבחך אלוהינו מפינו לא ימוש לעולם ועד. לדור ודור, לדור ודור, לדור ודור נגיד גאות לך. לדור ודור, לדור ודור, לדור ודור נגיד גאות לך. כי אל מלך גדול, גדול וקדוש, אתה. ברוך אתה אדוני, האל הקדוש.
Amen. We continue silently, page 274 throughout 282. Readers Kaddish Shalem on page 322.
יקרא ויקרא שמי רבה, בעד ירח ירתי וימליך מלכותי, וחייכון ובמכון וחי לכל בית ישראל, בעגלה בזמן קריב וימרו, אמן. יהי שמי מעולם לא מעלמיה, יתברך. יתברך וישתבח ויתפאר יתרם ויתנשא, יתהדר ויתהלל ויתהלל שמי דקודשה בריחו. לעילה מן כל ברכתה ושירתה, תושבחתה ונחמתה, דמירן בעלמא וימרו, אמן. תתקבל תפילת ההון ובית ההון, דכל ישראל, קדמה בהון דבשמה וימרו, אמן. יהי שלום רבה מן שמיים וחיים עלינו ועל כל ישראל וימרו, אמן. עושה שלום ממרומיו, הוא יעשה שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל, ויאמרו אמן.
Yashar Koach.
ברוך תהיה.
And we welcome back to the virtual Bima Cantor David here on the quickly. Let's see. We begin the service for the taking Torah out of the ark at top of page 326.
Ein kamocha v'lim Adonai, v'ein k'maasecha, malchutcha malchut kol ha'olamim v'memshadecha b'chol dor v'dor. Adonai melech, Adonai malach, Adonai imloch le'olam v'hed. Adonai oz le'amoyitein, Adonai yevarech et amo v'shalom. Arachamim, eitiva v'tzoncha, et Zion. Tivnech amad Yerushalayim, Kimecha levad v'tachnu, Melech Elam v'nisa, Adon olamim. Vayehi min Saharan vayomer Moshe, Koma Adonai v'yafotzu oivecha, v'yanusu misanecha mipanecha, ki mitzion teitzei Torah, ki mitzion teitzei Torah, u'devar Adonai miYerushalayim, Baruch Shenatan Torah, Torah, Baruch Shenatan Torah, Torah, Le'amo Yisrael, B'kedushato.
Page 330.
Be'yanarachetz v'lishmei kadisha, kadisha yakira, hanoemar tushbechon. Be'yanarachetz, be'yanarachetz, Melishme kadisha, kadisha yakira, Ana emar tushbechon, Yehi rava kadama, Tiftach libai be'ayraita, V'tashlim mishalin delibai, V'li barech olamach Yisrael et
We continue on page 334.
Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad.
Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad.
Echad Eloheinu Gadol Adonenu Kadosh Shemo.
Echad Eloheinu Gadol Adonenu Kadosh Shemo.
Gadol Naiti Unerabama Shema Yachidav Lecha Adonai Hagedullah Ve'Hagevura Ve'Atiferet Ve'Anetzach Ve'Hod Hikol B'Shamayim U'Va'aretz Lecha Adonai Hamlacha Ve'Aminaseh Lechol Erosh Ramamo Adonai Eloheinu Ve'Yisachavo L'Adam Raglav Kadoshu Ramamo Adonai Eloheinu Ve'Yisachavo Lehar Kodsho Ki Kadosh Adonai Eloheinu. La 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 la. La 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 la. La 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 la. La 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 la. La 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 la. La 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 la. La 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 la.
Yes, Sharkoach, Cantor David. Good Shabbos, Arlene, and welcome back to the virtual bima of the Lodzer.
Good Shabbos.
Yeah, I gotta go.
Rafi, is your microphone on? Arnie, is your microphone on?
I think so.
Wonderful. And Rafi, if you'd like to do the honors.
What page are we on, sir?
513. I thought you had
513.
it all.
I know, I just was on the phone with two people who are trying to get in. Both of them have aliyahs, and they finally got in. There was some problem with the link this morning.
Interesting.
What page you said? 513? I don't. No. I'm talking about the Chumash. The Siddur.
Yeah,
sorry.
Chumash.
The Siddur.
The Siddur. We're not in the Siddur. We're in the Chumash.
Yeah, I have to call people up from the Siddur, not from the Chumash.
That's true. That you do. That would be 336, I expect.
I got it. Okay. You unmuted Laura already?
Laura.
Laura is
here.
first, Phil is second. Beautiful. ויעזור ויגן ויושיע לכל החוסים בו ונאמר אמן. הכל הווה גודל אלוהינו ותנו כבוד לתורה. תעמוד. ליאורה בת צביה הכהן ומרים. ראשונה או כהן? What should I say in this case?
Well, but Tziyona Kohen.
בת ציונה הכהן. All right.
ברוך שנתן לעם ישראל בקדושתו. ואתם מביא על אליכם חיים כולכם היום.
Page 513, verse 1 to verse 6.
Good Shabbos, Laura.
Good Shabbos.
With your permission, we're going to start right here.
Okay, I'm touching the screen there. All right.
Oh,
Go for it.
Baruch et Adonai Mevorach.
Baruch Adonai Mevorach le'olam va'ed.
Baruch Adonai Mevorach le'olam va'ed. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam. Asher bachar banu mikol ha'amim ונתן לנו את תורתו. Baruch atah Adonai
Baruch Shema.
Torah. Amen. Vayomer Adonai el Moshe, Emor el haKohanim b'nei Aharon, v'amarta alehem, lenefesh lo yitama be'emav, ki im l'she'ero hakarov elav, ve'imo ul'aviv, ve'ibno ul'vito ul'achiv, ולאחותו הבתולה הקרובה אליו, אשר לא הייתה לאיש לא יטמא בעל פניו והיכלו. לא יכרכו כורחה בראשם, ופאת זקנם לא יגלחו, ובבשרם לא יצרטו צרתת. קדושים יהיו לאלוהיהם, ולא יחללו שם אלוהיהם, כי את אישי אדוני לחם אלוהיהם, הם מקריבים והיו קודש. Okay. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher natan lanu Torah emet v'chaye olam, notev etochenu. Baruch atah Adonai noten Torah.
Amen.
The second aliyah, the Levi aliyah, is verse 7 to verse 12. Yamod Fishlchaim ben Mendel Moshe Levi v'Sara.
Good. Shabbos Phil. We are right here. Can you see where we are?
I can. Can you hear me?
Loud and clear.
Nice. Baruch Adonai Mevorach.
Baruch Adonai Mevorach le'olam va'ed.
Baruch Adonai Mevorach le'olam va'ed. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher bachar banu mikol ha'amim v'natan lanu et Torato. Baruch atah Adonai noten Torah.
Amen. Amen. Isha zona v'chalala lo yikachu ve'isha v'sha me'isha lo yikachu ki kadosh hu le'elohav v'ki dashto ki et lechem Elohecha hu makriv kadosh yihyelach ki kadosh Ani Adonai mekadishchem, uvat ish kohen, hi techel livnot, et avia hi mechalelet ba'esh tisaref, v'ha kohen hakadol me'echav, asher yutzak al rosho, shemen hamishcha, ומילא את ידו ללבש את הבגדים, את ראשו לא יפרע ובגדיו לא יפרום, ועל כל נפשות מת לא יבוא, לאביו ולאמו לא יטמא, ומן המקדש לא יצא ולא יחלל את מקדש אלוהיו, כי נזר שמן משחת אלוהיו, עליו אני אדוני.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher natan lanu Torah emet v'chaye olam natan b'tochenu. Baruch atah Adonai noten Torah.
Amen.
Amen.
The
Yashar koach.
third aliyah is verse 13 to verse 15. Yamod, the birthday child, Dov Ber ben Yaakov Shlishi. Happy
Good
birthday.
Shabbos, Barry. Can you hear us?
I did. Yes, thank you.
We are starting right here. If you can see, please touch on keys and on you go.
I did. Baruch Adonai, Baruch Adonai,
Baruch Adonai Baruch Leolam Vaed.
Baruch Adonai, Baruch Adonai, Baruch Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher bachar banu b'kol ha'ni, v'natan lanu et Torah, Baruch Adonai.
Amen. 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 Vehu Yishaviv Tuleha Yikach Almana Ubrusha V'chalala Zona Et Ele Lo Yikach Hi In Betula Me'amav Yikach Isha V'lo Yechalel Zar'o Be'amav Hi Ani Adonai Mekadesho.
V'natan lanu et Torah, Baruch Adonai, Baruch.
Unmute me.
Amen.
Amen. Yashar Koach, Barry.
The fourth Aliyah is Yona Nadler. I believe she's under Sam's computer.
Rafi, I didn't see them there.
No,
Maybe.
I see Sam, so that
Do
is,
you?
I think, Sam Nadler.
You see a Sam Nadler? I don't.
No, it just says Sam, I think.
Oh.
One moment, we keep looking.
It's under Sam.
Yeah.
She's muted. You have to unmute her.
Yeah. That's what they're doing.
I think they muted themselves. Yona, if you can hear that, please unmute on your end.
Do you hear me?
There
Yes.
you go.
All right, beautiful. Mazal tov. Talmud, Yona bat Aryeh v'Dvora, Revi'it. The fourth Aliyah is verse 16 to verse 24.
ברכו את אדוני המבורך.
Baruch Adonai Mevarach Le'olam Va'ed.
ברוך אדוני המבורך לעולם ועד. ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם, אשר בחר בנו מכל העמים ונתן לנו את תורתו. ברוך אתה אדוני נותן התורה.
Amen. Vaydaber Adonai al Moshe lemor. Daber el Aharon lemor. Ish mizahar achad ledorotam. Asher yihyevo mum lo yikrav lehakriv lechem Elohav. Hi cholish asher bo mum lo yikrav. Yishiver o fiseach o charum o sarua o ish asher yevo shever ragel o shever yad o giben o dak o tivalul be'eno o garav o yalefet o maroach ashech o ish asher bo mum mizera Aharon hakohen lo yigash lehakriv et ishay Adonai mum bo et lechem Elohav lo yigash lehakriv lechem Elohav mekadashei hakadashim min hakadashim yachel Achel haparochet lo yavo ve'el hamizbeach לא ייגש קימום בו, ולא יחלל את מקדשי, כי אני אדוני מקדשם. וידבר משה אל אהרון ואל בניו, ואל כל בני ישראל.
ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם, אשר נתן לנו תורת אמת, וחיי עולם נטע בתוכנו. ברוך אתה אדוני נותן התורה.
Amen. The fifth aliyah goes to Dora, chapter 22, verse 1 to verse 9.
Okay.
Very top.
תעמוד את דבורה בת משה בונים ורבקה, חמישית.
ברכו את אדוני המבורך.
ברוך אדוני המבורך לעולם ועד.
ברוך אדוני המבורך לעולם ועד. ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם, אשר בחר בנו מכל העמים ונתן לנו את תורתו. ברוך אתה אדוני.
אמן.
אמן. וידבר אדוני אל משה לאמור, דבר אל אהרון ואל בניו, וינזרו מקדשי בני ישראל, ולא יחללו את שם קדשי, אשר הם מקדישים לי, אני אדוני. אמור עליהם לדורותיכם, כל איש אשר יקרב מכל זרעכם אל הקדשים אשר יקדישו בני ישראל אדוני, וטומאתו עליו, ונכרתה הנפש ההיא מלפני, אני אדוני. איש איש מזרע אהרון, והוא צרוע עוזיו, וקדשים לא יאכל עד אשר יטהר, והנוגע בכל טמא נפש, או איש אשר תצא ממנו שכבת זרע, או איש אשר ייגע לכל שרך אשר יתמלא, או ואדם אשר יתמלא לכל טומאתו, ונפש אשר תיגע בו,
בלי ו.
נפש אשר תיגע בו לטמאת הערב, ולא יאכל מן הקדשים, כי אם רחץ בשרו במים. יובא השמש וטהר, ואחר יאכל מן הקדשים, כי לחמו הוא נבלה וטרפה, לא יאכל לטמאה, אני אדוני. ושמרו את משמרתי, ולא יישאו עליו חטא, את טובו יחללוהו, כי יחללוהו, אני אדוני מקדשם.
ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם, אשר נתן לנו תורת אמת, וחיי עולם נטע בתוכנו. ברוך אתה אדוני נותן התורה.
Maury, can you hear us?
Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can.
Yes. Loud and clear, Maury. We start right here.
יעמוד משה בן רפאל וזהבה, שישי. We can't see you, but you're looking good.
Baruch Adonai Hamborah.
Baruch Adonai Hamborah.
Baruch Adonai Baruch Leolam Boed, Baruch Atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher bachar banu mikol ha'amim v'natan lanu et Torato. Baruch Atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen. Amen. V'chol lo yochal kodesh toshav kohen. V'sachir lo yochal kodesh v'kohen. Ki yiknei nefesh inyan kaspo hu yochal bo. V'lit beito hem yochlu v'lachmon. Uvat kohen ki tehiyeh leishar hi mitrumat hakadashim lo tofel.
Baruch Atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher natan lanu Torah emet v'chayei olam natan b'tocheinu. Baruch Atah Adonai noten haTorah. Amen. Yashar koach.
The seventh Aliyah, verse 13 to verse 16, is given to the best name in the world. Ya'amod, Rafael ben Zion v'Sara Shvi'i.
Okay.
Okay, little Rafi, go.
ברכו את אדוני המבורך.
Baruch Adonai Baruch Leolam Vaed.
ברוך אדוני המבורך לעולם ועד. ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם, אשר בחר בנו מכל העמים ונתן לנו את תורתו. ברוך אתה אדוני נותן התורה.
Amen. Amen. Uvat kohen ki tiyeh almana ubrusha v'zera ein la v'shava el beit aviha kinureha milechem aviha tochel v'chol zar lo yochal bo. V'ish ki yochal kodesh pishkagav v'yasaf chamishito alav v'natan lakohen et hakodesh v'lo yechalalu et kodeshei b'nei Yisrael et asher yarimu l'Adonai v'yisiu otam avon hashema v'achlam et hakodshehem Ki ani Adonai mekadesham.
ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם, אשר נתן לנו תורת אמת, וחיי עולם נטע בתוכנו. ברוך אתה אדוני נותן התורה.
אמן.
Amen.
איש שברך אבותינו
Vateinu,
ואימותינו, מעיין הברכות,
Birkot
בורא
Koreh.
רפואות. מי שברך אבותינו ואימותינו, מעיין הברכות, בורא רפואות. Adonai, source of healing, bring blessings to those we love. Renew their spirit, renew their courage, renew the strength of our body and soul. Yisheberach avotenu ve'imotenu, Mayan haberachot, borei refuot. Adonai, God of compassion, bring comfort to those we love. Adonai, God of compassion, bring healing from above. Yisheberach avotenu ve'imotenu, Mayan haberachot, borei refuot. And let us all say Amen. מי שברך אבותינו, אברהם, יצחק ויעקב, ומשה, אהרון, דוד ושלמה, ואימותינו, שרה, רבקה, רחל ולאה, ויברך וירפא את כל החולים.
And again, as every Shabbat, many thanks for all of you who keep updating me to the state of health of your nearest and dearest, and for sending me their names. We keep praying for their health and speedy recovery.
בתוך שערכו לישראל, בעבור שאנחנו מתפללים בעבורם, בסך הזה הקדוש ברוך הוא ימלא רחמים עליהם, להחלימם ולרפאותם, להחזיקם ולהחייתם. וישלח להם מהרה רפואה שלמה מן השמיים, רפואת הנפש ורפואת הגוף לכל איבריהם וגידיהם, שבת ימי לזעוק ורפואה קרבה לבוא, השתאה בעגלה בזמן קריב ונאמר אמן. May God grant a full and speedy recovery to all those who are ill.
Please rise for the reader's half Kaddish.
Yitkadal v'yitkadash shemei Rabba.
Amen.
Yamadivrach yiruteh v'yamlich malchuteh b'chayechon v'yomechon u'chayetecho beit Yisrael b'gala b'zman kariv v'yimaru Amen. Yehi Shmei Rabba Mevorach, Me'alam Ulal Me'almaya, Yitbarach, Yitbarach, V'yishtabach, V'yitharit Romam V'yitnaseh, V'yitadar, V'yitaleh, V'yitalal, Shemei D'Kudusha,
Verihu.
Leila min chodechata v'shirata, tushbechata v'nechemata, damiran b'yalma ve'imoru.
Amen.
Rafi, before you call the maftir, please announce the pages.
The maftir pages are, where are they? Where are we? Yes, the last 23 phrases, verse 13 to verse 16.
You may want to announce the page at the same occasion.
I don't have the page in front of me, unfortunately.
It's
the last page we read.
It says 517.
All right, sounds good to me. 517 is good to me. Ta'amod, Genana Chana bat Eliyahu ve'Esther, maftir.
Oh. Okay.
It was originally your husband.
Okay, happy to do it.
I'm happy to hear it.
And there we go.
Baruch hu et Adonai hamborach.
Baruch Adonai Morach le'olam va'ed.
Baruch Adonai hamborach le'olam va'ed. Baruch ata Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam. Asher bachar banu mikol ha'amim v'natan lanu et Torato. Baruch ata Adonai.
Baruch Shemai. Amen.
Uvat kohen ki teheh almana ugrusha v'zera ein la v'shava el beit aviha kinureha milechem aviha tochel v'chol zar lo yochal bo v'ish ki yochal kodesh bishkaga V'yasaf chamishito alav v'natan lakohen et hakodesh v'lo yachalalu et kodeshei b'nei Yisrael et asher yarimu l'Adonai v'yisi'u otam avon ashema v'achlam et kodshehem ki Ani Adonai mekadesham. Baruch ata Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher natan lanu Torah emet v'chaye olam nata b'tochenu. Baruch ata Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen. Yashar koach. Well, there is a lot of intrigue and tension. Rafi, don't keep us guessing. Let us know who is doing the Hagbah and Glila and call us up. Please rise for the raising of the Torah for the Hagbah.
Yamedu hamagbiya va'golel. Both of you. וזאת התורה אשר שם משה לפני בני ישראל על פי אדוני ביד משה על שלושה דברים, על שלושה דברים, על שלושה דברים העולם עומד, על שלושה דברים, על שלושה דברים, על שלושה דברים העולם עומד, על התורה ועל העבודה ועל גמילות חסדים, על התורה ועל העבודה ועל גמילות חסדים. It's very nice to see everybody lips moving to the song, and I can't hear anybody, but it's so nice that I know you're participating. Thank you. Nancy, where's the birthday cake? Oh, not the birthday child, the cake.
You may be seated. Rafi, usually that's your line as well.
Yes.
You will find our Haftarah.
Page 528. I got it. Chapter 44, 15 to 31.
Take it away.
Arlene it is. Rabbi, ready to go?
All good in this end.
All good. Arlene, go for it.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher bachar b'nviim tovim v'ratzav v'divreihem הנאמרים באמת ברוך atah Adonai הבוחר בתורה ובמשה עבדו ובישראל עמו, ובנביאי האמת והצדק. והכהנים הלוויים בני צדוק, אשר שמרו את משמרת מקדשי, לדאוג בני ישראל מעלי, המה יקריבו אלי לשרתני, ועמדו לפני, להקריב לי חלב ודם, נאום אדוני אלוהים. המה יבואו אל מקדשי, והמה יקרבו אל שולחני לשרתני, ושמרו את משמרתי, והיה בבואם אל שערי החצר הפנימית, בגדי פלישתים ילבשו, ולא יעלה עליהם צמר, ושרתם בשערי החצר הפנימית בביתה. שערי פלישתים יהיו על ראשם, ומכנסי פלישתים יהיו על מתניהם, לא יחפרו ביעזה, ובצאתם אל החצר החיצונה, אל החצר החיצונה, אל העם, יפשטו את בגדיהם, אשר המה משרתים בם, והניחו אותם בלשכות הקודש, ולבשו בגדים אחרים, לא יקדשו את העם בבגדיהם. וראשם לא יגלחו, ופרע לא ישלחו, אסום יחסמו את ראשיהם. ויין לא ישתו כל כהן, בבואם אל החצר הפנימית, ואלמנה וגרושה לא יקחו להם לנשים, כי אם בתולות מזרע בית ישראל, והאלמנה אשר תהיה אלמנה מכהן ייקחו. ואת עמי יורו בין קודש לאכול ובין טמא לטהור יודיעו. ועל ריב המה יעמדו למשפט במשפטי ישפטו. ואת תורתי ואת חוקותי בכל מועדי ישמורו ואת שבתותי יקדשו. ואל מת אדם לא יבוא לטמאה כי אם לאב ולאם ולבן ולבת לאב ולאחות אשר לא הייתה לאיש יטמאו. ואחרי טהרתו 7 ימים יצאו לו. וביום באוהל הקודש אל החצר הפנימית לשרת בקודש יקריא חטאתו נאום אדוני אלוהים. והייתה להם לנחלה אני נחלתם ואחוזה לא תיתנו להם בישראל אני אחוזתם. המנחה והחטאת והאשם המה יאכלום וכל חרם בישראל להם יהיה. בראשית כל ביקורי חול וכל תרומת קול מכל תרומותיכם לכהנים יהיה. בראשית הריסותיכם תיתנו לכהן להניח ברכה אל ביתך. כל נבלה וטרפה מן העוף ומן הבהמה לא יאכלו הכהנים. ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם צור כל העולמים צדיק בכל הדורות האל הנאמן האומר ועושה המדבר ומקיים שכל דבריו אמת וצדק. נאמן נתהו אדוני אלוהינו ונאמנים דבריך ודבר אחד מדבריך אחור לא ישוב ריקם. כי אל מלך נאמן ורחמן אתה ברוך אתה אדוני.
ברוך הוא ברוך שמו.
בכל דבריו.
אמן.
רחם על ציון כי בית חיינו ולעלובת נפש תושיע במהרה בימינו. ברוך אתה אדוני.
ברוך הוא ברוך שמו.
שמח ציון בבניה.
אמן.
שמחנו אדוני אלוהינו באליהו הנביא עבדך ובמלכות בית דוד משיחך במהרה יבוא ויגל ליבנו על כיסאו לא ישב זר ולא ינחלו עוד אחרים את כבודו כי בשם קודשך נשבעת לו שלא יכפה נרו לעולם ועד. ברוך אתה אדוני.
ברוך הוא ברוך שמו.
דוד.
אמן.
על התורה ועל העבודה ועל הנביאים ועל יום השבת הזה שנתת לנו אדוני אלוהינו לקדושה ולמלכה לכבוד ולתפארת. על הכל אדוני אלוהינו אנחנו מודים לך ומברכים אותך. יתברך שמך בפי כל חי תמיד לעולם ועד. ברוך אתה אדוני.
ברוך הוא ברוך שמו.
מקדש השבת.
אמן. Yashar koach, Arlene. Yashar koach, that was beautiful and very powerful. We welcome back Cantor David to the virtual Bima and to the Sidur. Yakum Kurkan min Shmaya, page 344.
Yakum Kurkan min Shmaya. וכל מי שעוסקים בצורכי ציבור באמונה, הקדוש ברוך הוא ישתלם שכרם וישים למקום הקלו, ויפלגו גופם ויסלח לכל עוונם, וישלח ברכה והצלחה בכל מעשה ידיהם, עם כל ישראל אחיהם, ונאמר אמן.
Ashrei on page 352.
אשרי יושבי ביתך וגילו חסלו. תהילה לאדוני ידבר פי ויברך כל בשר שם קודשו לעולם ועד. ואנחנו ברך מעט ולעולם, הללויה.
Prayer for Canada goes to Harvey Storm.
Please rise for the prayers for Canada and Israel.
Our God, we invoke thy blessing upon our country, on the government of Canada, the Prime Minister, and all who exercise just and rightful authority. Do thou instruct them out of thy law, that they may administer all affairs of state in justice and equity, that peace and security, happiness and prosperity, right and freedom may forever abide among us. Unite all the inhabitants of our country, whatever their origin and creed, into a bond of true community, to banish hatred and bigotry, and to safeguard the ideals and free institutions which are our country's glory. May this land, under thy providence, be an influence for good throughout the world, uniting humanity in peace and freedom, and helping to fulfill the vision of thy prophets. Nation shall not lift up sword against nation, neither shall we learn war anymore. For all people, both great and small, shall know the Lord. Amen.
Amen.
Avinu, Avinu,
Sheba Shamayim, Sur Yisrael
V'golo. Avinu, Avinu, Sheba
Shamayim, Sur Yisrael V'goalo.
Marech, Marech, et Medinat Yisrael, Reshit Smichat Geulatenu, Hagen Aleha Bevrat Chastecha, Ufros Alecha Sukat Shalomecha, Avinu, Avinu, Sheba Shamayim, Sur Yisrael V'golo. Avinu, Avinu, Sheba Shamayim, Sur Yisrael V'golo.
Avinu Shabbat Shamayim, Rock and Redeemer of the people of Israel. Bless the state of Israel with its promise of redemption. Shield it with your love. Spread over it the shelter of your peace. Guide its leaders and advisors with your light and your truth. Help them with your good counsel. Strengthen the hands of those who defend our holy land. Deliver them, crown their efforts with triumph. Bless the land with peace and its inhabitants with lasting joy. And let us say, Amen.
Amen. Yeah, hallelujah, Shem Adonai, ki nizkav shemo levado, hodu al eretz v'shamayim,
Vayarev kerev
v'yamo, teila lechol chasidav, livnei Yisrael am kerava, hallelujah. Misemor David, Havul Adonai b'nei Elim, Havul Adonai kavavos, Havul Adonai kivat shemo, Ishtachavu Adonai behadrat kodesh, Kol Adonai alamayim, Ela kavod yirim Adonai amayim rabim. Kol Adonai ba'koa, Kol Adonai be'adar, Kol Adonai shover arzim, Vaishaber Adonai et arzei halvanon. Vayakidem kemo egel Levanon v'Sirion, kemo ben Re'emim. Kol Adonai chosed lavodesh, Kol Adonai yachil midbar, Yachil Adonai midbar kadesh, Kol Adonai yechol elayalot, Vayechesaf yaharot, Uvechalot kuloyomer kavod. Adonai lama bulama bol yashav yeshev Adonai melech leolam. Adonai oz liyamo yitein. Adonai yivarech et amo v'shalom. Uvnecha yomar. Eitz haimi lama chazikim ba v'tavteha meyushar teracheha darchei noam v'chol netivoteha. Shalom, Hashivenu Adonai, Elecha v'nashuva, Kadesh Yameinu, Hikedem.
Yeshar Koach, and please be seated. Before we start, as some of you, perhaps many of you know, we have lost a very dear founding member of the Lodzer, loved and admired throughout the community, Leon Pasternak. Our hearts and minds are with Leon's family, and I'm sure many will want to raise to commemorate his memory and name while bearing the ability to hold a Kiddush on site at the moment. I know we will be doing something virtual within the next few weeks. Since his funeral was only the day before yesterday, we are not offering the open space for such speeches today, but giving it at least a week to spread the word first. Now, as I have been promising for a couple weeks now, referring to today. We have not had a single question and answers session since early February, actually. It's been 2.5 months, give or take. And in the virtual format, it's not as easy, of course. Takes a little while, but the way it works, at the bottom right corner where there is reaction, you can choose thumbs up or the clapping this side. Either one, please exhibit it, put it in front, put it on your screen if you have a question. And we'll do our best to unmute you as quickly as possible. Again, to remind you, any and all questions work. Anything relevant for the day, anything about the Torah portion or other portions, you can, there are no holy cows, no forbidden issues. You can expressly ask about anything, politics, sex, even religion. And there we go. Susan, I unmuted you, but you should unmute yourself.
I have a quick question. What is the best way to communicate with you if we want Misha Berach said for someone in the congregation?
An excellent question. Thank you very much. Indeed, we've been publishing it in the bulletin, but should be said also here from the Bima. If you have a friend, a relative, a loved one who needs our prayers for their health, for their speedy recovery, please email me at rabbieli@lodzer.ca or email the office and they will pass it to me within 24 hours, 24 business hours. You can also always call me.
Thank you.
The number is there on the bulletin and the website at all times. And again, I thank you all for keeping submitting the names. More questions, please. Very welcome. So anybody, I'm looking out for those hands. Not even a single thumbs up. My rabbi used to say there are no questions in only 2 cases. Either everything is crystal clear in life or nothing is. Harvey.
I was just wanting to congratulate you on all that you're currently doing to keep us all together and to keep us all involved in the synagogue. And I think you deserve a hearty Yasher Koach.
Oh, thank you so much. I am humbled, but because I'm not too humble, please do not stop, keep talking.
No, I'm fine, thanks. I have no other questions. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so very much, Harvey. But truth be told, all of this is so much a community effort, and I'm not just being humble. That's not one of my many vices, false modesty. The amazing amount of work, dedicated resources, enthusiasm, love, heart and soul that our members have poured into this virtual support and hug we can give each other is overwhelming. And I'm only not naming them now because I'd be naming for good 5-6 minutes. Yes, it is that many. after we're back, we shall have to hold another special kiddush to dedicated to honoring the members of the Lodzer who've been taking part in this effort. Judy, again, I unmuted you, but you need to unmute yourself.
Okay, can you hear me?
Loud and clear.
Okay. Rabbi, why were the Kohanim not allowed to marry widows?
Thank you. Again, excellent question. Just to expand for the benefit of everybody in the audience today. Our portion, Emor, is mostly dedicated to the laws and special restrictions referred to the Kohen, and especially Kohen Gadol, high priest. By the way, a Kohen is allowed to marry a widow. Only the high priest is not allowed to marry the widow, right? He's only Kohen Gadol, just the one single Kohen who rules them all. You can have look at it from many various angles. Also, the explanation would be paradigmatic, that is to say, with the change of the paradigm in the Jewish general mindset, the understanding of this concept, both high priest and high priest not being allowed to marry a widow, have been changing greatly. But here a few looks at it. The most basic, rudimentary, you can say primitive, patriarchal way, virgin, a woman who's never been with a man, was, and in those days, woman was considered to be pretty much property of a man. Actually, you could see it as a feather in the cap of our forefathers when in the entire world, which took the same concept, there were still rules that prohibited you from mistreating the woman, but make no mistake, she was still viewed as a property. There are also today's laws, just to put it within perspective, which ban a person from mistreating their property. It doesn't mean it is not necessarily so. So in those days, the high priest, being the most allegedly unblemished, you could say, apparently, of the priests or of people, etc., should have the best. So he should not have married anyone other than a woman who's never been to a man before. Fast forward a bit from those early days in the pre-Judges era into the Malachim, into the period of the kings. And we are already talking about somewhat more sophisticated politics. The whole idea of high priest, by the way, is brilliant. It is about separating, so to speak, church and state, which personally I'm all for, but you don't have to share that. So a high priest could never be king, and the king could never be a high priest, except for the late Hasmonaic dynasty, Hyrcanus, Aristobulus, and those guys. They always fought between themselves, and they tried and they grabbed and combined for a short period of time, indeed, the clerical and monarchic power, to the great peril and destruction of the free state of Judea eventually. As we know, we're talking about very late pre-common era centuries. So going back to that, in those times, both the king and the high priest, there were multiple plural laws about both their possessions and their marriages. Those were viewed as political entities also. And a high priest who marries a woman who's been married before may give an opening to birth of further questions of succession, questions of succession may in turn bear a lot of unnecessary intrigue, clicking, and all other sorts of undesired results. Again, there was also a pirush, this one is a medieval, that a widow, a woman who's been married before, however involuntarily, but such is the nature of humans, will be prone to be comparing her first and second husband. And if her second husband is the high priest, he's supposed to be incomparable. That's in brief. There are plethora of other pirushim and suggested commentaries to that. I only wish I could cover them all here. I'm sure there are even more that I don't know than those that I do, but even those that I do would take a large chunk of our service time. Sorry, I can't unmute you, Judy.
Rabbi Arlene has a question.
Thank you, Rabbi.
Oh, my pleasure. Just want to make sure that I responded.
Rabbi Arlene has a question.
Arlene, you have the mic?
Okay, it may not be a question, but I'll see. I was reading something about the rabbi's commentary on the number of times Emor is mentioned, the word Emor, in the Parsha, but I can't remember what the significance is and why it was so significant. Can you speak to that a little bit, or?
First of all, the word Emor itself, being say, is repetitive in our portion. It is first, God says, "Thou shalt say to the children of Israel," and then again by saying or through saying. So there is certain duality of, or rather redundant language in here. I'm guessing that's what you've been referring to regarding that. And the Talmudic commentary to that is that whenever we find it in the Torah, which is not very frequently, by the way, only 3 times Emor is used with repeated with saying again to say to say, or say by saying. Each time it refers to a specific mitzvah, not just to learn it, but to pass it on to one's progeny, to the to Bnei Israel, literally to the children, and teach your children to pass it on to the next one. So my guess is that's what you've been referring to, but if not, please let me know. We'll.
Yeah, no, I think it was something like the translation I was reading was like, speak to them and say. So, yeah. And so I was just, but I didn't realize it was picked out as a significant difference.
Right. So the redundancy itself of, and you know, our sages loved the redundance in the Torah. Sometimes you think the redundant terms in the Torah were their main source of fiber. And of course, when you jump at each and every little word, something as blatant as say to say is hard to pass by.
Rabbi Laura had a question. Laura Katz, Bureau.
One moment, thank you.
So this week's parsha made me kind of tried in my head unsuccessfully to compare the rules and hierarchies of the priests back then and the rabbis and whatever hierarchy that may be within that community. I just wonder whether you can compare and contrast, or is there anything that spilled over from those days in terms of rules and hierarchies to today?
I can try. Thank you, Laura. So first of all, just to clarify, you asked about the rabbis of those days. There were no rabbis in those days.
Priests and rabbis.
There were, right, there were, what I mean is there were no rabbis
I meant the priests to the rabbis of
time
today.
we expected as the time of Exodus. There was no time, no rabbis, 500, 300, or even 100 years before Common Era. The first rabbis are from the very late first century of the Common Era, and before then, no rabbis have ever roamed nor grazed the great prairies of the Promised Land. Rabbis is a term, literally rabbi could mean big or great, later became understood as a teacher. It's a term introduced by a particular caste of the Jewish people, evolved from the political party of Prushim, of Pharisees, and in all likelihood, before then, it evolved from the caste of scribes during the days of Ezra and Nehemiah, and the building of the first temple about half a millennium prior. And so let's go back. The structure, there is a huge difference between priests and rabbis. Therefore, rabbis never presumed to be priests, nor are they priests today, of course, just teachers, counsel. Again, sorry, I know we are talking about the Torah period, and yet I'm throwing you all the way fast forwarding to the early Talmudic or pre-Talmudic times. But we are talking of one of the greatest shifts in paradigmatic shifts in Judaism, which came through political struggle. There was, of course, there were the Sadducees or Tzdukim, the, so to speak, Templar caste or Templar party that revolved around the temple, the gazillion of monopolies that were related to the temple, and theological, theocratic, religious monopoly on all of that was, of course, in the hands of the priests. Then we have the monarchy and aristocracy party that still is looking backwards, tracing as much as they can their roots from the dynasty of King David, and thus laying claim to power. And then there is the entire revolutionary move, the overhaul by the Pharisees, the Prushim, and the later rabbinic, you could say, party, which says that a scholar is basically the greatest raison d'etre that a human can have on earth. That's the concepts in the Talmud, for instance, that a mamzer talmid chacham, a learned person born illegitimately, is greater, meaning their social status and not just their merits, is greater than an ignorant high priest, than a Kohen Gadol Hediot. And that is a very clear shot across the bow towards the Templar monopoly, which seems in those days first to extend towards pretty much every area, every field of a Jew's life. Now, in the early days of the Torah, the hierarchy is very simple. There is the high priest, the high priest in first early days was apparently a hereditary position, but later on he was chosen by other Kohanim, by all Kohanim, or by the elders of the Kohanim, but at any rate by priests. And then all Kohanim who served at the temple were just given tasks depending on their seniority. So it was a very simple and very clear top to bottom structure with not too many tiers. The rabbinical hierarchy, if just let me check. Did you want me to speak to refer also to the hierarchy between rabbis?
I was just wondering because I was yes, but I mean, if it's going to take too much of the service, then we can talk about it separately. Okay.
No, not at all. It's
okay.
It's a lovely, and I think everyone's enjoying the conversation. Nod your head in agreement if you're enjoying, or if you want us to think that you're enjoying. You see, everyone's head is bobbing. Lovely. So with the rabbis, with the sages of the Talmud, the, so to speak, hierarchy is a little more structured, but it's still not extremely strict. When a later sage of the same, first of all, sages are categorized into temporal tiers. So there is the first, so to speak, batch, the first generation of the sages, those who wrote Mishnah, are referred to as Tanaim. Then the second one called Amoraim. Then there were Savuraim, Gaonim, Rishonim, meaning early interpreters, commentators, and Acharonim are the commentators of the last 300 years or so. So first rule, which is pretty much steadfast, is that no rabbi or sage from any given era can argue with a sage from any of the previous eras. The reasoning to that being the rationale that the previous ones were closer to the reception of Torah by Moses on Sinai, therefore they have clear understanding of things. It's, however, so he cannot argue with a rabbi of the earlier generation, of the earlier tier, but he can interpret his words, and as long as the interpretation can befit in it, it can get extremely creative at times. Now, secondly, within a given tier, a later sage is usually given preference over an earlier sage, because the later sage has better access to information and to interpretations of their own tier. The one notable exception from that one, in turn, is a disagreement of a student and his teacher, his main teacher, because the student got most of his wisdom from his teacher. So in most cases, the halacha will follow the teacher. Now, all this hierarchy is only regarding whose psak, whose halachic ruling we should be following. It is not about who can give whom commands or whatever. And at the times of the existence of Sanhedrin, the Council of 70, the head of the council, the patriarch, did have a certain authority in ruling over his brethren. For instance, of course, the notorious story of Rabban Gamliel and Rabbi Elazar disagreeing over the correct, that was in pre-calendar dates when each month ended and started by the sightings of the moon. So a month could be 29 or 30 days long, and you never knew in advance. Rabban Gamliel and Rabbi Elazar disagreed as to when the new moon of Tishrei should be set, and therefore when Yom Kippur was. And Rabban Gamliel, because he was the head of the Sanhedrin and had the authority, he ordered Rabbi Elazar to come and see him on the day that, according to Rabbi Elazar, was Yom Kippur, carrying his purse and his cane, which is, of course, a no-no on the Day of Atonement, which Rabbi Elazar had to do due to that same hierarchy. So that's a glimpse of hierarchies in various societies. As for today's hierarchy amidst rabbis, it's mostly, I should say, administrative, meaning if you belong to a certain rabbinical body, then you follow that body's rules. And Baruch Hashem, thank God, we do not have a Vatican, we do not have a single rabbinical authority, body, or voice, which is, as I keep telling and reminding, organized religion is definitely evil, and the one thing that's been saving us over centuries and generations is that we are perhaps the most disorganized religion on earth. Thank you, Laura. Let's see if we have any more hands or thumbs. Last chance, last call. Any question goes. By the way, Thelma, you have the mic.
Thelma walked out of the room just a minute ago, but the question is, Rabbi, if you buy fish without skin in the grocery store, is it kosher? If it, for instance, tilapia.
Aha. There is, again, we're Jewish, nothing is simpler, right? And nothing is simple. There is no simple answer to almost any questions, and it won't come as a surprise that this is not an exception either. There is, just to clarify, sages speak of two different situations. One is when you buy fillet. Another is when you buy fish that normally would have scales, but as you come and buy it, it has no scales. Are you asking one specific question of those two, or are both of them?
No, basically, if you go to a fishmonger who sells kosher fish, then you're supposedly assured that it's kosher. But if you go into Costco, you go into a superstore and you buy packaged tilapia. Tilapia is a kosher fish, but it doesn't have the skin on it because it's been processed. So is it considered kosher?
So we are talking of fillet, right?
Yeah.
Most Orthodox rabbis would actually ban it unless it has a kosher supervision mark from a recognized body, based on the concern that indeed a non-kosher fish could have happened in between those fillets. If you can clearly recognize by the fillets themselves that they are indeed tilapia, then the concern is relatively little and perhaps slight enough not to say that the entire pack of fish is non-kosher. Of course, once we go back to the Orthodox strictures, there also might be the concern of what this tilapia got to touch in the process, the tautology in the process of processing. So that's another concern, but overall, some fishes can be much less recognizable than tilapia, and then much greater concern of being something else.
It could be bassa fish, which
kosher and
tastes.
non-kosher. Pardon?
Yeah. The bassa fish tastes like tilapia, looks like tilapia.
It's also
but
kosher.
it's not a kosher fish.
Bassa?
Bassa.
Do you mean sea bass?
No, it's called bassa. It's a fish.
Okay.
But either way, as I understand, the way I was brought up is that if you buy fish without skin, except for salmon, salmon is the only fish without skin that could be considered kosher if bought outside. But any other fish, the only way you could recognize it is with the skin. So if the skin is not on the fish, unless it's got the symbol like you said, then I was brought up to say, hey, listen, that is not kosher.
Well, when, oh, you say skin. There is another interesting situation where you bought a fish. It does have skin, but it has no scales. However, it's a fish you know to be kosher. For instance, you know that it is carp, or you know that it is pike, right? It would be very hard to mistake them for anything else. Now, the question is this a weird subspecies that has no scales, or is that a different fish altogether? And most sages of the early days, and since then we rely usually on their halacha, say that you can eat it. It is kosher. However, it is interesting. They're based on the premise that we would see today, understand today, to be scientifically incorrect. They assumed that this fish had shed its scales when it was being pulled out of the water. It led to many misconceptions, by the way, in the rabbinic world about nature of fishes. We even had a very lively discussion right here in this very sanctuary on that subject. I think I'll pause there regarding this particular issue. We are indeed running. This was the last question, unless you have a very pressing one. And thank you for the fishy question. If you have a very pressing question, please raise your hand. Otherwise, okay, Sid, you have the mic for 40 seconds.
Okay, 1 second. Lily found out about the bassa fish, and it's a catfish, and that's not kosher.
Thank you. I must have misunderstood. I thought that the reference was to sea bass.
Rabbi, it is actually in the grouper family. It's not a catfish, but it looks like a catfish, and therefore it's not kosher. But it is in the grouper family.
Got it now. Just misunderstood the fish. Misidentified. Thank you for setting me right there. Cantor David, please lead us in the Reader's Half Kaddish preceding Musaf Amidah, page 368.
Yitkadal v'yitkadash shemei Rabbah B'yom ha'divrach v'teven l'malchutei b'chayechon v'yom echon u'chayei d'chol beit Yisrael Pagalav Isman Kariv Imaru Amen. Yesh me Rabba Mevorach Le'olam Le'omei Omaya Yitbarach V'yishtabach V'yitpo'ar V'yitrumavinasei V'yithadar V'yitalev V'yithalal Shmei Kedeshah B'richu Liela miko berchata v'shirata, tushbechata v'nechemata, damiran b'yalma v'imru. Amen.
We begin the Midah all together, page 370.
Baruch atah Adonai,
Baruch Shema.
Eloheinu v'lei avoteinu, le'Avraham v'le'Yisrael v'le'Yaakov, Ha'el hagadol hagivor v'hanora el elyon, gomer chasadim tovim v'konei hakol, v'zocher chasdei avot, u'mevii kol evnei bneihem l'masho b'yava, melech ozer u'moshiach u'magen. Baruch atah Adonai,
Baruch Shema.
Eloheinu Avraham.
Amen.
Atah gibor l'olam Adonai, mechei mitim atarav l'hoshia, mechakel chayim b'chesed, mechaye metim b'rachamim rabim, samech naflim v'rofei cholim, u'matir asurim, u'megayim emunato, Lishenei afar, tmicha mocha b'gevurot, u'midah melech, melech memit, u'mechayeh, u'matzmiach Yeshua, v'ne'eman l'chayot metim. Baruch atah Adonai,
Baruch Shema.
Amen. Narisa v'nakdisha, Yesod asar fei kodesh, hamakdishim, Shimecha b'kodesh, k'katuv b'yad neviyecha v'kara, zel zel v'yamar, kadosh kadosh kadosh. Kivod amale male olam male olam, misharet avshoalim zelaze aye mekam kivodo, misharet avshoalim zelaze aye mekam kivodo. Leyumatam, Baruch Yameru, Baruch V'Lamikamo, Mimkamo, Oifen Berachamim, V'Yachanam Hamiyakadim Shemo, Erev Aboker Bechol Yom Tamid, Pamayim B'Yava Shema Omrim, Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Eloheinu, Avinu, Malkeinu, Mashiachenu, Ashmienu Birachamav Shenit Shenit Leyene Kochai Liyalachem Leloim Perigodigadub Leimoim Lagadonai Leolam Elohai Siyan Ledar Vador Hallelujah Ledor Vador Nagigolecha Netzach Netzachim Tushachan Akdish V'Shema Eloheinu Mipinu Lo Yamoshalam Voed Kiyamel Kadav Gadashat Baruch Adonai El HaKadosh.
Amen.
Prayer in response to the pestilence by our esteemed Rabbi Eli Kurant. Our God and God of our ancestors, take heed of our struggle with the new plague that befell the world. We pray before you, strengthen our forbearance in face of trials that may await us. Unite us in our common plight. Steady our hand and the hands of our leaders to combat the disease. As we stay separated in space, let us come together in spirit. Let us not be so vain as to think the ordeal was sent as retribution for our own iniquities, as we are not foolish enough to imagine carrying such clout over the universe. Do not allow us to imagine any of us can single-handedly bring about a global solution for the immediate peril, nor let us fall in the pit of despair and conclude that we can do nothing at all. Rather, give us the patience, goodness of spirit, determination, wit, and willpower to contribute to the common cause by little steps, precious small efforts, joining the common cause. Grant us the blessing, O Lord, by protecting us and our loved ones and all your people on earth. Send your healing to those who suffer and solace to those who hurt. May we speedily and soon see the days of security and tranquility, happiness and good fortune. For it is said, return us unto you, O God, and we shall return, renew our days as they used to be. Hashivenu Adonai Elecha v'nashuva chadesh yamenu kekedem. And let us say, Amen.
Amen. We continue on page 376.
Yismechu v'malachutecha, Yismechu v'malachutecha, Shamrei Shabbat, Shamrei Shabbat, V'korei oneg oneg Shabbat, Yismechu v'malachutecha, Yismechu v'malachutecha, Shamrei Shabbat, Shomrei Shabbat, V'korei oneg oneg Shabbat. Umashvi ratzita bo, v'kidashta, Yismechu v'malachutecha, Yismechu v'malachutecha, Shamrei Shabbat, Shamrei Shabbat, V'korei oneg oneg Shabbat. Chemdad yamim, Ata karata, Zeche lemasei v'reishit, Yismechu v'malachutecha, Yismechu v'malachutecha, Shamrei Shabbat, Shamrei Shabbat, V'korei oneg oneg Shabbat. Eloheinu v'levatenu ritzei v'mnechateinu, קדשנו במצוותיך, ותן חלקנו בתורתך, צווינו מטובך, ושמחנו בישועתך, ותאר ליבנו לעבדך באמת, להנחילנו אדוני אלוהינו, באהבה וברצון, שבת קודשך, ואנוכו ישראל, מקדשי שמך, ברוך אתה אדוני, מקדש השבת. רצי אדוני אלוהינו ועמך ישראל תפילתם, וישב את העבודה בביתך, ותפילתם באהבה תקבל ברצון, ותהי רצון תמיד. עבודה ישראל עמך, ותחזינו עינינו בשובך לציון. ברחמים ברוך אתה אדוני, המחזיר שכינתו לציון. מודים אנחנו לך. הטוב כי לא כלולך עמך, ורמכים כי לא תמך חסדך, מעולם קיווינו לך. ויהא כולם יתברך, ויתרומם שמך מלכנו תמיד עולם ועד, וכל החיים וחסלה, ואלוהי שמך באמת, הישועתנו וצאנו סלע, ברוך אתה אדוני. טוב שמך כל חנה לידות. אלוהינו ולהבתנו ברכנו והברכה המשולשת בתורה, הכתובה על ידי מחשבתך, האמורה מפי אהרון ובניו כהנים, עם קדושך אמור בחדני וישמרך. ירא אדוני פניו אליך ויחנך, יישא אדוני פניו אליך וישם לך שלום.
כן יהי רצון.
עם שלום טובה וברכה, חן וחסד ורחמים, עלינו ועל כל ישראל עמך. ברכנו אבינו כולנו כאחד ביאר פניך, כי ביאר פניך נתת לנו אדוני אלוהינו תורת חיים ואהבת חסד ואהבת חסד וצדקה וברכה ורחמים וחיים ושלום וטוב בעיניך לברך את עמך ישראל בכל עיר ובכל שעה בשלומך ברוך אתה אדוני. המברך את עמך ישראל בשלום.
Amen. Readers Full Kaddish, page 424. Please remain standing.
יתגדל ויתקדש שמי רבה, בעלמא דברה חירותיו למחותיו וחייכן ובמכן ובחית וכל בית ישראל בעגלה בזמן קריבים עדו. יהי שמי רבה מברך לעולם לעלמי עלמיה. יתברך וישתבח ויתפאר ויתרומם וינשא ויתהדר ויתעלה ויתעלה שמי לקודשה.
Amen. Amen. Amen.
Shalom Yamav. Shalom Aleinu. Ve'yachol Yisborah. Emru. Amen. Yasha Shalom. Yasha Shalom. Shalom Aleinu. Ve'yachol Yisrael. Yasha Shalom. Yasha Shalom. Shalom Aleinu. Ve'yachol Yisrael. Yasha Shalom, Yasha Shalom, Shalom Aleinu ve'akol Yisrael. Yasha Shalom, Yasha Shalom, Shalom Aleinu ve'akol Yisrael. Yasha Shalom, Yasha Shalom, Shalom Aleinu ve'akol Yisrael. Emor. Amen.
Oh, there I am. Shabbat Shalom, everyone. As always, I'd like to start by thanking our clergy, Rabbi Karant, for your usual fine job. I shared your prayer with a few people this week, and they were all very touched and moved by what you wrote. And I'm hoping that for the coming weeks and months, that your prayer will be a regular part of our service.
Mr. President, I cannot share your hope. I really hope very soon there will be no need for that.
Well, me too, but for the foreseeable future, let's keep it going. Hopefully, at some point, we'll all be back together in the sanctuary. I saw a comment from, sure you all did, from Harvey Storm, and it's my wish and everybody's wish that we all gather together in the sanctuary in the near future, and that we all come out in person. I'd also like to thank Cantor David for doing such a magnificent job, as always. To Arlene, thank you. Joseph, as always, thank you very much for participating. Arnie and Rafi for being such amazing Gabayim in such difficult circumstances. Charlie, I can't say enough for all that you've done for the bulletin, and I meant every word that I wrote this past week, and then some. When we're allowed to get back together, I will tell you all this in person, and on behalf of the Lodzer, hopefully I'll be able to steal a page of the rabbi's book and give you a great big hug. Thank you for all that you've done, and it's greatly appreciated. Pearl, thank you for reading the rabbi's prayer so beautifully and flawlessly. Today's Kiddush is sponsored, I'm still used to saying Kiddush. Today's service is sponsored by Laura Katz and dedicated to all our four-legged friends, who, I don't know about your four-legged friends, but mine, it appears, hasn't had a minute in the house alone without somebody being here since, I believe, somewhere around May the 13th or 14th, March the 13th or 14th. In fact, I brought Simba, our dog, down here, and he listened for about 3 minutes, then went upstairs to go for his walk. Again, thank you, Laura, for sponsoring the Kiddush. If you'd like to sponsor a service, I keep saying Kiddush, please let us know, and we will be pleased to make the arrangements. Our next book chat will be June the 4th at 7:30 p.m. And the book is The Other Mrs. Smith. We're looking forward to that. As you know, our annual general meeting has been postponed due to the COVID epidemic or pandemic. It will be rescheduled just as soon as we're able to have it. Also, Judy's Parsha of the Week class continues every Wednesday, and that's something that many of us look forward to. This past week was yet another difficult week for the Lodzer family, as we lost two more members, Esther Steinman and Leon Pasternak. Frank would talk to me quite often about how him and his wife Esther had such a special relationship, and the look in his eyes when he spoke about it told the whole story. And frankly, they weren't apart very long. They are now back together. But on behalf of the entire Lodzer family, we'd like to offer our condolences to the Steinman family, to Leon Pasternak's family, the same. I have some words that I wrote about Leon few years ago when I couldn't attend a service and a Kiddush that we had in his honor due to a family commitment out of town. And at some point I will read and revise those words, but in a nutshell, Leon was the last remaining honorary board member and one of the founders of the synagogue who contributed in so many ways. We didn't always agree with what Leon said or what Leon did, but he had this uncanny passion to present his case and his undaunting love for the synagogue and for the Lodzer family. I can envision now his seat, which is sitting empty, and every time I know that I will see that seat, whether somebody else is sitting in it or not, I will see Leon there. And again, on behalf of the entire Lodzer family, our condolences to the Pasternak family. I know several members were quite close with him, including Joe Bear, who would bring him to shul whenever he felt up to it. And it was always great to see Leon in shul, even in the later years. And I know that he left this world loving the Lodzer and the Lodzer family and respecting the Lodzer family as much as we respected him. At some point, I am hopeful that we will be able to do a memorial service in memory of both Leon and Frank. Going to talk to the clergy and the board about doing it, if not in the sanctuary, one evening on Zoom, as it is becoming a regular way of communicating. I meet with presidents of other synagogues on a weekly basis now, and many of them are running programs on Zoom. A number of them are actually starting and have followed our lead and doing Shabbat services. Others are recording some services, but it is unfortunately the next best way to seeing, to davening, and in our case, spending time with the Lodzer family. Again, thank you for all the comments that have come in today. Every time I read one, it brings warmth to my heart, and I'm sure to everybody else's. And again, Rabbi, and to all the clergy, thank you so much for working so hard, not just on Shabbat, but all week long to keep the Lodzer family together and to bring and exhume the warmth and the comfort on a daily basis, not just on Shabbat. Shabbat Shalom, everyone. Let's continue with our service with Ein Kelohenu on page 426.
Ein Kelohenu, Ein Kadonenu, Ein Kemakenu, Ein Kemoshienu, Michelohenu, Michadonenu, Michemakenu, Michemoshienu, Nodel Eloheinu, Nodel Adonenu, Nodel Emogenu, Nodel Mashienu, Baruch Eloheinu, Baruch Adonenu, Baruch Makenu, Baruch Mashienu, Ato Eloheinu, Ato Adonenu, Ato Makenu, Ato Mashienu, Ato Sheiktiru Avoteinu Lefanecha Et Ketoret Hasamim En Kelohenu, En Kadonenu, En Kemakenu, En Kemoshienu, Mar Rabbi Lodzer. Leman achai v're'aya davana shalom bach, leman beit Adonai Eloheinu avaksha tov lach, Adonai oz lema yitain, Adonai v'rechanamo v'shalom.
Please rise for the Aleinu, page 428.
Aleinu l'shabeach l'adon hakol, ateit kirula liyotzeh bereshit, Shelo asanu k'gei haratzot, velo samanu k'mishpachat ha'adama, Shelo sam chalkenu kahem, v'gar aleinu k'chol amonam, v'anachnu korim u'mishtachavim u'modim, lifnei melech malchei hamlakim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, shehu noteh shamayim v'yoser haaretz, U'mashavikar v'shamayim imal, u'shchina duzah b'gavei meromim, Hu Eloheinu einod. Okay, anyway.
Emor, Ya Adonai, Lemelech Haaretz, Bayom Hahu, Yeh Adonai Echad, U'Shema Echad.
We observe the following yahrzeits this week. May 9, Dvorah Geshen Shapiro, mother of Yonah Nadler. May 11th, Shea Golden, father of Bluma Nemerov. May 14th, Elka Pillersdorf, mother of Rachel Wiseman. May 14th, Isaac Sosner, brother of Sarah Moshe. We also acknowledge the passing of two of our Lodzer family members, Esther Steinman and Leon Pasternak. We also say Kaddish for those who don't have anybody to say it in their memory. And of course, in the memory of all the people that lost their lives due to COVID-19 worldwide. We also say Kaddish, of course, for the 6 million Jews that were slaughtered during the Holocaust. Please recite with me on page 434. Yitzhadal.
Like what, second or third Stephen? No, but she's like, I don't understand her. She wants to be.
Please be seated. As is our custom, prior to Adon Olam and the Kiddush, we share the sad and the happy and everything in between that we can share with each other. Here's the way we'll do it today. If you have something that you want to be recorded and passed on to those members and their friends, perhaps making public, if you have something to share that you want to be recorded, share it now. And if not, leave it for after the Kiddush, when we'll give a further opportunity after we stop the recording. So again, if you have something said to share, if you need a hug, badly need a hug, a virtual albeit, again, you have the reactions button in the bottom right corner. Just give us a symbol of either hands or thumbs up, and we'll know to unmute you. Joseph, you have the microphone. Joseph Bear, Joe? Oh, you'll have to unmute yourself from the inside.
I want to mention again the loss of Leon Pasternak. He was a real mensch with a big heart. And also, he will never be forgotten in the Lodzer. He'll always be a stable mark and always be there for minions and everything else in the shoe. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Joe. Well said, and we will dedicate, I'm sure, a Shabbos to Leon's memory. Sam, you have to unmute yourself also.
We did.
Go ahead.
It was my booby's 84th birthday yesterday.
Mazel tov. Not quite sad news, but oh, mazel tov.
All good news.
Shalom there. All good news. Lovely.
Yes.
Well, we want to share good news, so.
Thank you so much.
Rabbi?
Rafi?
Rafi, yes. I remember on when I got the news and the phone call about Esther Steinman, somebody sent me an email quickly and said, "Do you know what she passed on from?" I said, "A broken heart." They were tied together for many, many years, and it was truly a love made in heaven, and they're there again together. So I don't know what the actual reason of her passing away was. I'm sure it was a medical reason, but I think that we all know that it was definitely a broken heart, and Frank and Esther are together again, and I will truly, truly miss them. And his antics, especially when he says, "I have to go home to my wife, she's sick," and she says, "I'm not sick, stay where you are." And of course, at the Christmas dinner and the movie, I will miss them, but it will be done in their honor again. So to the Zager family and the rest of the family, best regards, all good hopes, and I hope the memories outweigh the sorrow at one point or another in your life. That's it.
Yashar Koach, Rafi. Thank you very much. Any more news, happy or sad, that need to be shared while we are recording. Again, please use the reaction button. Laura, you have the mic, but you need to unmute yourself.
It's another, I guess, I just went, we've gone international. My 12-year-old nephew joined us for the service from Argentina.
Beautiful.
So we're international now.
What's his name?
Pedro.
Sorry?
Pedro.
Pedro. Welcome, Pedro.
He's locked off now, but he joined for a big part of the service.
Wonderful, beautiful. Wishing him buenos Shabbos, and you too. Thank you so much. Let's see if there are any more news whose bearers want to share them. Kathy, you have the mic. Again, everybody else, please use, I cannot see very clearly if you are waving or there is movement. So do use the reactions button in the bottom right corner with the symbols. Kathy, you're on.
I'd just like to share that it was my mother-in-law's 90th birthday yesterday. There was a big party planned, but couldn't do it.
Not even on Zoom?
No.
Right.
No. We'll do it. We'll do it. God willing, she'll still be around when we can do it.
Sure will. We'll celebrate 91st and many more.
Thank you.
Rafi, you have the mic?
Yeah, I have some good news finally. I mean, first of all, I just want to let David know that I was watching when he was singing and everybody was singing along and nobody was out of tune. It was perfect. But more important, we have two birthdays. One is today, one is tomorrow. I'd like to wish a hearty Mazal Tov, which I did already in the Aliyah, to Barry, whose birthday is today, 39 excluding weekends and holidays. And also tomorrow, being Mother's Day, we have a very important mother in the middle of the picture here, Pearl Rosen. It's her birthday. So Pearl, Barry, Mazel Tov, and I'll get the cake as soon as we can open up the shul, or if you want to come in and meet me tomorrow morning at 9, I have some ice cream in the freezer and we can share it.
Awesome. Yeshar Koach, Mazel Tov, and Barry, Pearl, I always knew you were twins.
Separated a few countries, yeah.
Well, still. Let's see, let's check if we have any more icons. The bottom, Charlie. Last,
Hi.
you're on.
It's Roz.
Rose,
With the Mother's Day.
Couldn't see you on the
With the Mother's Day happier note, it was social distancing applied. Miriam Perez and my dear friend Susie Phil will be celebrating with social distancing. Very far away, but we will do it anyway. And anyway, wishing all the mothers there once again a very happy and joyous Mother's Day with good things to look forward to for sure.
Thank you. Yeshar Koach and happy Mother's Day, everybody. Everybody who is a mother, everybody who has a mother, who had a mother, a grandmother, she's also a mother. Nancy.
I would like to say that Barry and I had another unusual experience this week. We have a new cousin. His name is Aviv Raphael.
Ooh.
And he had his bris on Thursday, and we watched in the comfort of our home. We were at the bris and we were here. So
Mazel Tov.
thank you. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Where was he born, did you say?
Where? Here. Here. He was born
here in Toronto.
Yes. Yes. His grandparents are Irv and Anita Bromberg.
Beautiful. Mazel Tov. Thank you very much.
Yes.
And well, in that case, let me share as well. I have a new nephew. Yes, I know I do have over 30, but the novelty never wears out. And he is so new, brand new, still on warranty. Well, maybe not on warranty, but does not even have a name yet. Thank you very much. I can lip read. See, you're saying Mazel Tov, and you're saying Mazel Tov, and you two are saying Mazel Tov. And we turn to page 436 for Adon Olam. I know Cantor David has yet another surprising tune up his sleeve. Cantor David, you're on.
Adon Olam, Hashem Olam, B'terem kol Yitzir Yitzir Nivra, Li'ed Nasa V'chal Tzokol, Azai Melech Shemo Nikra, Mi'acharei Kiklan Akol Levado, Yimloch Nara V'hu Haya, V'hu Hove V'hu Yeh, B'tifara V'hu Echad, V'yein Sheni Lehamshilo, Lehachdira V'lireshit, V'litachlit, V'la'az V'hamisra, V'hu Eli, V'chai Goli, V'tzor Chevli, V'yetzara, V'nisi Umanos li, Menat kosi, B'yomekra b'yahado, Avkid ruchi b'yedi shan, Ve'ayira v'imruchi Geviati Adonai li, Ve'lo ira Adon Olam, Adon Olam.
Wow, Cantor, you should have seen us all. Everybody was mesmerized. Can you see them clapping, applauding? Yeah. If I turn it on, you'll only hear one person applauding at a time, and that's not reflective of what's happening. Okay, guys, you're getting really, really good at it. So you've got 18 seconds, high seconds, to get your Kiddush. That's right. Yep. Here is mine. All for Finland.
No brainer.
Yeah, when this pandemic is over, come with me to Helsinki or wherever. Cantor David, take her up.
Shamru ben Israel the Shabbat, la Sora the Shabbat, the door Tambilam, Beni Yovim ben Israel, Hilalam, Ki Sheshet Yamim Asa, Adonai et Hashemayim v'Taaret, Uvayam Ashvi Shavayim Achash, Al Kain Berak Adonai Yam Hashabavi Gashehu Savri,
Chaim.
Baruch Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam borei pri hagafen.
Amen.
Shabbat shalom, Shabbat shalom, Shabbat 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 shalom, Shabbat shalom, Shabbat shalom, Shabbat 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 shalom, Shabbat, 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 Shalom. Shabbat, 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 Shalom. Shabbat, Shalom.
Hey.
Shabbat, Shalom.
Hey.
Shabbat, 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 Shalom.
Yashar Koach. At this point, we are going to stop the recording on 3, 2, 1.